What's up, co-reporters? Welcome back to my channel. This is an emergency video that I have to film right now. I've got Pilates class soon, but I've got to film this before I get all sweaty, okay? Kail and Vee are done. She just let us know on the podcast, Baby Mama's No Drama, that she and Vee were never even friends. They were friendly. They were not co-parents. They were not, like, she's letting it loose, you guys, okay? So I listened to the first 10 minutes of this and I said, let's listen to the whole thing together with my co-reporters, because we have been discussing this podcast together since the very beginning, mainly with my channel members, of course, but whenever there was some really, really big news that broke, I would share it with all of you guys on the main channel as well. So I really just want to make sure that this is something that we are all able to listen in on together, because it is a huge, huge deal. For years now, we've been talking about how strange it is that Vee has been able to sit there and allow Kail to disrespect her husband on a regular basis on this podcast. And I guess Vee finally decided to find her backbone and say no more. And mind you, things between these girls are so bad that they don't even follow each other on social media anymore. I went onto Kail's Killer Network, podcast network, whatever website to see if she still is like a manager for Vee's other podcast. Vee has a podcast called Vibing and Kind of Thriving. And for now, it's still on there, but watch that space. I do believe that in a couple weeks, days, months, whatever, how long it takes, that podcast is going to disappear from the Killer Podcast Network as well. This is a huge deal. This podcast has earned Vee so much money and so much relevance. And so without it, I don't know how she's going to be able to hang on much longer as an influencer. But anyway, that is neither here nor there. Let's take a listen to this episode, you guys. Like I said, Kail is letting it be known that it was her decision. She dumped Vee. They're not friends. They've been having issues behind the scenes for a long time. They don't see eye to eye on how to run a podcast or how to parent a child either. And she's like, you know, even though we don't really see eye to eye on that, I just want y'all to know she is not my co-parent. Okay, she is not my baby daddy. Joe is. And so my beef is with him. Woo, guys, honestly, the fact that Vee couldn't even show up to this, says that things really got ugly between the two of them. But I've blabbered too much. Here goes. I'm pressing the play button. No, hang on. I want to fast forward through all the ads.
Baby mamas. So I'm back to answer some of your questions. We have seen them, we've read them, and we were actually never intending to leave you guys in the dark. And unfortunately, the bad news is that I have decided to part ways from Vee on the show. And I don't want you guys to get too sad, because although Baby Mamas is at its end, I have something really exciting taking place next Tuesday. So I don't want you guys to get too upset.
So what is taking the place of Baby Mamas, you might ask? Let me throw a little hunch in there. I personally believe that it's going to be something with Becky. You know, that friend of hers that she recently did the special on how they reconnected and everything like that. It's the same friend that was supposed to launch a joint podcast with Kail in the past. I think it's going to be that girl, you guys. Okay. But listen, we're going to have to wait for the confirmation. She says that's coming in just a short while. So stay tuned for that, but trust and believe it's most likely going to be Becky.
Obviously wasn't an easy decision, and so that's why you guys have gone without answers for some time now. Vee and I needed to get our shit together off camera and off the podcast before we could come to you guys with answers. That being said, I do want to jump into sort of where we're at. I think that there has been a lot going on behind the scenes, and we just didn't know how to verbalize it in a way that was comfortable for both of us. I think part of the reason that we've had such a hard time even figuring out how to do this is because Vee and I have very separate visions for what Baby Mamas was to start and what Baby Mamas is today. So it's no secret that I share just about everything about my life, from, co-parenting struggles, baby daddy drama, my own personal problems. You guys know I've shit my pants, right? I pretty much say everything. And that's sort of how I've built my entire following, is from being transparent from the first time you guys saw me on 16 and pregnant until now. And so that's never really changed. And I do fully understand that is not everybody's MO. That is absolutely their right. Everybody's right to choose what they want to say and what they don't want to say. That being said, I do think that we did create Baby Mamas under, I was under the impression that Baby Mamas would be more of an extension of our personal lives, and we would be able to share more of our co-parenting struggles and our co-parenting journey. And so when Vee and I are not aligned on that front, it makes it really, really difficult to do this podcast, right? So many times, her and I have sort of brushed things off as best as we could to try to keep the podcast going and try to keep it authentic and still share what we can. But that hasn't always been able to happen the way that I think either of us planned. And so, that being said, Baby Mamas is done. This is our last episode. Like I was saying, things have been going on for a long time off the podcast, and I just don't agree with it. And so I think that's part of the struggles that we face when we're on the podcast is we are older now. We do have more perspective on, what our kids can hear, what they know, what they see, and how it's fun in social media and things like that. And so I think when you take that into account and, I can't.
Okay. So I have to stop right there. I think it's absolutely crazy that Kail is saying, okay, now that we're older, we've got a lot more perspective and like we respect more and want to be a lot more subdued about what we share about our lives because of social media and how all of this gets shared and how all our kids, have access to that stuff. Meanwhile, like the majority of the issue is the fact that Kail overshares, and she shares things that are very harmful to her children, and then, for example, when she did that podcast tour, she had all of her podcast people having like these poster faces of like the baby daddies, and it's like, guess the baby daddy, and it's like all these embarrassing stories and stuff. She talks about like what her intimate life was like with each one, who made her orgasm, who did it, like all this sorts of stuff. So it's crazy that the girl who does all of this, right, and who would diss Vee's husband and like all by revealing this very, very deeply personal information, and who would diss her child's father by just sharing this sorts of stuff. And by the way, she also low-key outed Isaac in her Barely Famous podcast, you guys. I already did a recap on that, but lest we forget, she low-key outed him on it when she was having a conversation with her friend Becky. And now she's sitting here telling us that due to age, she and Vee are now aware that like they need to be a lot more careful about what it is that they share on social media because their children have access to it, and it's kind of it never goes away. Like what? Am I hearing this correctly? But anyway, let's keep listening.
To explain her side, I also can't expect that she'll side with me against Joe. I can't. It seemed like a really good idea to do Baby Mamas until we started to do it, and then it was just really hard to balance the actual family part with the business. The idea for this podcast originally was to talk about our own struggles with co-parenting and how we got to where we are. But I think that it's important to note that being friendly with your co-parent or your co-parent significant other does not actually make you friends, and it doesn't actually make you co-parents.
Oh, that was a diss, you guys. Being friendly does not make you friends, and it does not make you co-parents. Listen, who are you to say that for everybody? By the way, I have to listen to this so that I make sure that the audio is not too loud. Who are you to say that in every single situation that is the case? I do believe that in some situations, the baby mamas on both ends, do develop a real, true, genuine friendship. But it's just like Kail to discard people like this, like so frivolously when things don't go her way.
Especially when things get rough with Joe and myself. She's not a referee. And so it makes it very difficult for Vee to then talk about certain things on the podcast, because where I think of it as showcasing our struggles and how we're working through them, I think that so she didn't want to disrespect her husband, whereas I thought that this was what the podcast was about to begin with. So I think in that way, there really is creative differences because we were on two different pages about what Baby Mamas is. And so because of that, we had to bring it to an end. We are not seeing eye to eye on how to handle things off the scenes, and then not agreeing to both talk about certain things on the podcast. And so I don't think that there needs to be shade. I don't think that there needs to be a knockdown, drag out argument about it. And I don't think either of us is wrong, right? Like I gave birth on TV at 17 years old. Like this is how I built everything up until this point. I think what's frustrating is that we were missing the mark. I think we were just like missing the mark from each other, and we didn't have the tools and the skills to talk about it in a productive way outside of the podcast. And so we were showing up to the podcast just as business partners, not as friends, not as co-parents, not as anything else other than business partners. And I just don't want to operate that way. I just don't know that there was a way to carry on the business without being fully aligned. There are a lot of layers to this decision and having a business with Vee. I guess we'll call it a situationship, right? Because we have a business together, but we also have to maintain some sort of relationship off the podcast. This is truly an awakening for both of us, because I think that we got so caught up in the idea that we are co-parents, when in fact, I think that Vee and I are friendly with each other, and we were able to make this work for as long as it has by being friendly. Only now do I recognize that. I don't think that I was fully acknowledging that in the 4 years that we've had this podcast. I think that recognizing that is important, and not continuing to, put on the show I would hate for people to come up with their own conclusions here, and I would hate for people to villainize me in this situation when they hear this episode and they sort of understand the dynamic of what's going on off camera and off the podcast, because I really just don't want this to get ugly in any way, shape, or form. So I think that V and I have done our best to talk about this in the best way that we can. I think this is the extent
then
of
where is she
in talking about the situation right now.
Then where is she? If you guys are on such great terms, right? And this is like a decision that is for the better, where is V? Because, you know, a lot of people listen for V as well. Like, you guys were a dynamic duo. In my opinion, if things were going well, you both would be sitting here announcing this, and you wouldn't be getting into, oh, she was never my friend, you know, like all that type of stuff. Meanwhile, to your listeners, you guys made it seem like you guys were friendly and stuff, and that you guys had your own personal relationship outside of Joe and outside of Isaac. Like, I'm not shook, because listen, they don't call it a revolving door of friends for no reason, you know. Like, it was only a matter of time, especially with the stuff that Kail had been saying about Joe, and especially when her former online pen pal leaked the fact that Kail was sending all sorts of messages like, oh, well, I don't even know how V can like get it on with Joe. Like, ew, he drives me up. Like, that type of stuff that is just so incredibly unnecessary. That is your child's father. Your child is half of this man, you know? And so for you to say, oh my God, he is repulsive, I don't know how, you know, someone could be attracted to him. Like, that was just a really, really crazy thing to say, even in private, you know what I mean? So I don't know, girl. I think that they've got bad blood, and she's trying to sanitize it to get ahead of the story. But the fact that V is not there speaks volumes, because this is her business, her podcast, just as much as it is Kail's. And mind you guys, another reason why this is a huge deal, Kail has multiple podcasts, okay? She's got Baby Mama's No Drama, she's got the Coffee Convo podcast, and then she's got the Barely Famous podcast. Of those three, Baby Mama's No Drama, in my opinion, if I'm, you know, not wrong, is the most successful. That's the one where they win all the awards for. They got on the Times Square like billboards and stuff like that. They're winning like real awards with Baby Mama's No Drama. Like, Coffee Convos is not racking them up. Neither is Barely Famous. On Barely Famous, yeah, she's getting these like famous writers to do interviews and stuff like that. But it was not at the success or the level of Baby Mama's No Drama. And, you know, for you know, Kail, who loves her money, to be walking away from that, and from V, who needs Kail for, you know, the majority of her relevancy, like, this is huge. It really, really is. But anyway, let's keep listening, okay, you guys, because there's a lot more where that came from. This is a full 40-minute episode that I am trying to get through with you guys.
A possibility that I could go more in depth in the future on, you know, Barely Famous, or possibly the new show that's taking this place on Tuesdays. But for now, I would like to see it remain this way. I would like to see everyone remain neutral from our audience standpoint. And with that being said, though, like, we have loved and laughed on this podcast, right? Like, there have been some incredible moments. There's been some incredible breakthroughs. There has been good conversation, even if it wasn't necessarily about our own situation. We have talked a lot about, you know, where we started as, you know, Joe's girlfriend and Joe's baby mama, and how that sort of evolved. And it did evolve. So even though we're not completely aligned right now, I do still think that there has been a lot of growth and a lot of progress overall, because if we didn't have the business and we didn't partner up to do this, we might still hate each other. So, you know, from the beginning. So I definitely think that there has been some still really good moments. And we've laughed a lot about, you know, funny stories that the community that we've built have sent in, and some down in the DMs that we'll never forget. And all the Nick Cannon jokes. And so there have been some really, really great moments. But, you know, I wish Joe and V nothing but the best. And I hope the kids are happy, healthy, thriving at their house. And I know that Isaac is happy, healthy, and thriving over here. And that's all that we can do moving forward, is hope for the best, you know, outcome for Isaac and the kids. So I think just keeping our own families at the forefront, and making sure that they're always a priority. I think that this podcast itself was probably causing a lot of stress on both ends, because we weren't seeing eye to eye. And so then Elijah hears it, and then Joe hears it. And it's sort of like two very differing perspectives. And, you know, I don't really necessarily want Isaac to be online and looking up all kinds of rumors and things like that from assumptions that you guys might make from all of this. And so I apologize for not getting this explanation to you guys sooner. I think that you guys deserve this explanation. I think you guys deserve answers, because you've stuck with us up until this point. I mean, I think that a lot of people were also confused, because we did just have a really great live show in Ohio. We had Alessandra, V, Lindsay. We were all, you know, finally getting together. And that was something we had talked about for a really long time. And so there's a lot of confusion sort of stemming from, oh, but they were just together in Ohio. And I think just to add a little, you know, context to that, I think that right there was an example of how V and I are friendly, but we are not necessarily co-parents and friends. And so we can make things work the best that we can. And I think, you know, I still want to continue to support her in Vibe and Kind of Thrive In. I absolutely still want to support that. I still want to continue to help advertise that. I still want to help them grow that podcast in any way that I can. And so I think there's something to be said for that, right? Like I have no ill will towards her, and I don't want anyone to leave this podcast or listen to this podcast and run to the internet and be like, oh, you know, Kail couldn't bully V into, you know, talking about things. I think that I'm allowed to say as much as I want about my personal life, and V is allowed to say as little as she wants about her personal life. And that is okay. Both things can be true. And it just means that we're not completely aligned. So I think that, you know, there's still a potential for, you know, V and I to work together in a business capacity through podcasting in the future. I just don't necessarily think that we need to have a podcast together. I don't want anyone to feel any differently about either of us, you know, moving forward. I think that we can both have respect for each other without working together. I'm speaking for V and myself. We wholeheartedly appreciate every single listener that has supported this community and been a part of this family, because it has truly felt like family. We've laughed and gotten to know so many of you on just, you know, interacting on social media, listening to the podcast, reaching out through DMs. Like, we feel like we have built a family and a community through this podcast. And so I don't want that to go unappreciated, because I know that I'm sure V would say the same thing. And I think that the way that all of this sort of transpired off the scenes is exactly how it transpired on the podcast. And so we're coming to you this late in the game because we were still trying to figure it out in real time with our real family in real life before we came to the podcast. As things were sort of getting figured out, it was like, okay, we'll take individual episodes and then, you know, we ran a best of, because it still sort of wasn't worked out. And truly, in full transparency, this ending right here, right now, was not in the cards, you know, over the last month that we've been having some issues. It couldn't continue, and especially couldn't continue without an explanation. So I think that's also something to be considered. But I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for even giving us this chance and growing with us and laughing with us and sending us DMs and all kinds of things.
So it kind of sounds like she's low-key saying V wanted to ghost us, but she was like, no, we're not going to continue this way, just running reruns and individual episodes and stuff. Like, I'm gonna sit up here and thank our listeners for giving us the opportunity to have grown our podcast over the past 4 years, which, by the way, holy crap, I'm sorry to swear, but does time ever fly? I remember when they first launched this thing, 4 years. It feels like it was just like a year ago or two maximum. Oh,
anyone on your list.
Hang on, we're gonna get some last minute ad dollars. Nope, not out of this listener.
To a nonprofit at time offer, we wear a mask.
Nope. I've got a job to do.
Yourself and doing things flexible, and you're able to do the fave. It's stuffed chicken and beef patties that it's made with. Hi, baby mamas. This feels a little weird.
Oh my God.
Point.
That's V. So they filmed their own 15-minute to 17-minute goodbye messages. All right, let's listen. This is bad. If they have to each film their own. Remember, guys, I'm listening to this live alongside you guys. Like, you know, I only listened to 10 minutes on my own before I hopped on here, put down the dishes I was washing while I was listening, and hopped on here and listened to the rest with you. So I had no idea V was going to film separately. Kail, she should have let us know off the rip, like, hey, like, just so you know, we're filming our own separate goodbyes. Like, you know, that girl really don't F with me, you know. Here she comes next. Like, this was quite the surprise to me. I was not expecting to hear V's voice individually here, but let's go. Let's listen to her explanation.
I'm just going to get into what I need to say. And yeah.
Her voice is shaking.
I know you guys have known me for like a very long time. It's almost unbelievable how long I've had these relationships, like online with people and everyone following me and everything. It's crazy. But and then you guys barely saw glimpses of my daughter on Teen Mom, and you know, even me, I think I always try to keep everything very minimal. For me, like, the spotlight was never really my goal, right? So it's just been really difficult for me to share as much as I felt was helpful. And while
you're an
still trying to maintain like
on
a little bit
Instagram
of privacy, you guys know I'm very, I'm not a secretive person, but I do, you know, I respect my privacy as well as the privacy of people around me. And that includes, you know, my husband, my kids, just my family in general. And as Vivi gets older, as Faiza gets older, their access to these conversations, whether it's on, you know, Instagram stories or the podcast, no matter where it is, just on any corner of the internet, I want to maintain as much of my family's privacy as I can across the board. And this is a decision that
good for you.
I made for just my mental health, and it wasn't made lightly. And this is just for the overall like well-being of my family. So I'm just taking a step back from sharing as much as I have to. And with that being said, I know with this podcast, it's hard, right? Like sometimes it feels like therapy, and sometimes you kind of just let things out. And when it's just you and another person, it's hard to think that there's thousands and thousands of people listening and taking everything in. And, you know, sometimes even taking what you say and kind of not really taking it for what it is or making it something else, whatever the case may be. It's very easy to just say what you have to say and think that it's just going to like go into the void. And it really puts things into perspective for me when I truly look at it in a way where if I'm in a room and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people around me, I would not be probably saying any of these things. So it just makes it so much easier when you're just podcasting and letting things go. And it's hard to draw that line sometimes. And it's been really difficult for me because you guys do know I'm a person that does love, and I enjoy my privacy. And you will probably notice, like across all my platforms going forward, this is just something that I'm going to take a step back. And to me, I think this stage of my life is the part where I just truly want peace. It's nothing to do with anybody else. It's just me and my family and me and myself, and just prioritizing what's best for me. Like I am in my mid-30s, like I'm 33 years old.
Early
I just
30s.
want peace, and I just feel like I'm doing you all a disservice by not being able to be maybe as transparent as you all expect or have come to expect from me. I know when we started the podcast, I could never in a million years imagine that we could create something so large, and it's just such an amazing community. Like we have mothers, friends, family, like you guys are basically family in my eyes, and nothing will ever change that. I'm so grateful for all of the support over the years, and I just can't continue to put out the content that you all come to expect and love. So it definitely is with a sad heart that I make this decision to step back for not just myself, but for my family as well. It's been really tough. I think my whole thing has been kind of just leaving you guys. It makes me really sad because I think over the past 4 years, I have connected with you guys on so many different levels, even down to the DMs that you guys have sent me, and being so open and honest about your lives, not just me. I mean, I think this journey has been amazing for not just me, but for so many other people, and giving you guys the space to be open and vulnerable, I think is amazing. And I'm glad that we're able to create a space where you all are able to do that, whether it was with the co-parentees or the down in the DMs. Like, you guys are amazing overall, just for being open and being just vulnerable as hell, and being able to send us all of those things and have us read them and give you our opinions and things like that. And with that, I want to thank you guys and just truly tell you that I appreciate every single one of you. And I hope that in all of this, I can just inspire you all to do what's best for yourself above anything else. This decision was very hard, and it's not really how I expected this journey to go at all. If you guys would have asked, even a couple months ago, if this is what was going to happen, I would have said no. Like there's so much more to do. There's so much more left, But life is unexpected. Life, that is what it is, and I'm actually really grateful, and I'm at peace with this, and it's made me realize that I can handle way more than I thought I could. Like, it's given me the power to pursue something different. Like, I am going after something really different right now, and it's something that I've wanted to do for a while, but just didn't quite have the time. Or I guess I just also didn't have that push, and I do, and I'm going after it, and just going after change, even in the face of fear, is something that I feel really good about, and it's something that I've had to come, face to face with, and I'm proud of myself for that. So I think in even instances like this, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, even when it feels hard. And I just want to truly tell you guys that I've learned so much in these past 4 years. I think we all have. I've had so many moments in the show where I have felt very relieved in knowing that I'm not alone, and talking about certain things, whether it's like my mental health or anxiety or just anything. You guys have given me that space, and that you've given me nothing but like positive feedback and great energy back. And it's made me feel a lot less alone in motherhood and friendship and my relationship and everything. So I just wanted to take the time and truly tell you guys that I appreciate y'all and I love y'all. From the bottom of my heart. Like, Baby Mamas has changed my life in that aspect, where I feel like you guys know I haven't had a village in a
been quite some time.
She's crying, you guys. This is so sincere.
And you guys felt like that for me. You definitely felt like my little village. So that's where I'm sad, because I'm just going to miss you guys and doing this every week. There's been a lot of great things.
Did you catch that? So that's why I'm sad. I'm going to miss you guys every week. There's no mention of that girl that you were working with for 4 years and that you're kind of stuck with for the rest of your life, unless you leave Joe anyway. Very interesting. And then, couple that with Kail emphasizing that they are not friends, they were never friends, and they might never be friends. Whew. All right, guys, let's keep listening. There's only about 14 minutes left, minus some of the ads that are bound to pop up.
There's been a lot of challenges. And I know, like, for you guys, our real lives is not entertainment, as much as we want to entertain. You guys, the lines between that and like what's personal and what's entertainment, like I feel like they're just becoming too entangled, and things just got really hard.
So there you go. They have fundamentally different views. For Kail, what she's going through, what her spouse is going through, what her children are going through, those are entertainment to her audience. This is how she makes money, by selling that. She repeated twice that she gave birth on TV at 17. It's like, okay, that shows that you are, an open book or whatever, but it also shows that you've decided for your child that he too must be an open book, right? For the sake of your financial future. And V is kind of at the point where she's like, well, I never really saw it that way personally, but now that I see that things are headed in that direction, especially when I see that she is just so off the deep end, that she is printing out pictures of all of her baby daddies, one of whom happens to be my husband, and like giving them to her followers and having them play along like random games with them. Like, that makes me so uncomfortable, because it is just so disrespectful to our real life families, which, I completely understand there, like that was really like woof, quite the decision on Kail's end. But that's the thing. She started doing this so young, and V came along a little bit later on in life. And she had her child in her 20s versus, at 17 years old. So she just doesn't see things the same way, although they did team up on this podcast, like they weren't sharing the same level of information.
I feel like this has opened the door for so many other people to also just go for what they want. Like, so many people have DM'd me and said, me and my best friend want to start a podcast, or, me and my co-parent want to start a podcast. And I can't even tell you how many times I've read that, and it's put a smile on my face. And I think we've done so many great things overall. Like, I think the positive does outweigh a lot of the negative, and what we've done, what we've been able to do with the podcast. I also would love for other Latina podcasters to step out of their comfort zone and do what they love as well, and take the risk. Just overall proud of what we've done and the little community that we built here. And I don't want you guys to think for 1 second that I have not thought about you throughout this whole process or this decision. And it's eating me up alive just thinking about you guys and trying to keep things where you guys understand and trying to be as transparent as possible with you guys. It's been really hard to even sit here and talk about this. Everything is okay. I'm doing good. I think, I'm excited for the future, and I want everyone else to be excited too. I know everyone's going to be sad that the podcast is ending, but this is like new beginnings for everyone, everyone involved in the podcast, everyone that's helped and has been a part of the podcast. I appreciate everyone genuinely. And it's been a long 4 years, but we've done a lot, and I am appreciative of everything.
A long 4 years.
I just think moving forward, this is obviously the best decision for us and our families. And I'm truly, genuinely okay with that. And I wish the best for everyone. This is the end of a freaking era. I was going back and like listening to some of our older episodes not too long ago, and I was just like, wow, like everything, you can tell the change in us from like the first episode to even like towards the end. Like it's been a roller coaster ride, but I've enjoyed it. I've definitely enjoyed doing this, and every week coming at you guys with content. I've truly enjoyed making content for it. I think this is something that I've really come to love, and this is what has propelled me towards, what I'm going to be doing in the future. And I'm really excited about it. But, being able to create the content for the podcast weekly, the video content, and, just editing and even working on merch, like that first round of merch and stuff, like it has, I've done things that I've never done before, and it was really fun. And I was able to be creative, and that's an outlet that I always want to keep in my life. this is not the end of my journey. This is just the beginning, baby. I think there's so much more left that I want to do. I just, I hope you guys will still join the ride. I guess overall, I just want to say thank you all for listening to Baby Mamas every week, for always tuning in. Thank you for every vote. Thank you for every review. Even if it wasn't so nice, I always, took everything into consideration. I did my best. And, just thank you guys. Thank you guys for us. If anyone's been here with us since the beginning, since day fucking one, you are a true ride or die, a true baby mama, and you will ever be. But I just wanted to, I guess, kind of go down memory lane. Like, I have so many memories and so many fun things from the show. I loved when we were podcasting in person. I think the dynamic was so fun. We always had so much fun. I loved going into the office and just bullshitting and talking shit. And those were some of my favorite times and episodes, especially the one with the cum necklace was definitely my favorite. I will never get over that. The fact that Etsy still has and sells shit like that, it just still makes me laugh. Sensationally bold, I think will forever be iconic. Shout out to Keem, because I definitely miss him. He had a great role in Baby Mamas whenever we would record and have his little perspective. It was great to have a male's perspective thrown in there. When the girl left her baby daddy's ashes at her booty call's house, and I swear the only thing I could think of was him vacuuming up his rug and then just vacuuming up her baby daddy. It was so funny. What else? There's the other down in the DM where the freaking guy faked his death and had his doctor brother write up a fucking, what was it, like a false death certificate. I will truly, like, this, it's insane. And just the people who wrote in these stories, like, you will forever be missed. And that is just iconic. I can go on and on. I don't even know. We've also had some really great guests. Like, we've had Lady Gang, we've had the Shrink Chicks, we've had Good Moms, Bad Choices. We've had a lot of co-parenting people on too. And we've learned some great things. We've had Bethany Frankel on. That was a really great interview. We talked a lot about, like, supporting your girls and just the industry and things like that. That was a great one. I think we've tried to hit, like, every avenue we could as far as talking about co-parenting, motherhood, when we were going through our pregnancies, depression, anxiety, mental health. There's just so many avenues that I think we were able to tap into. And wow, just thinking about it is just, like, very eye-opening. I'm glad that we were able to do that. And I'm glad that, like, I'm sure even listening to any one of our episodes, you can get something from the episode. And that was always my main goal. Like, I wanted something light. I wanted something fun and open. And I do feel like I've done that. And I feel like, this was also, like, a healing journey in some type of way for me as well. Like, I feel like I have healed so many parts of me just being able to talk about my mental health on here. And I know y'all are my therapists. Like, trust me, I know y'all are not my therapist, but damn, like, sometimes it did feel like a therapy session. Like, just even thinking about the episode where I broke down because I just missed my fucking family, man. Like, I missed my family and I was just going through it out here. And sometimes I just feel so alone out here. And fast forward to now, like, being able to have someone really close to me here, like my sister, and having that village back, it just came full circle for me, this whole thing. And it ended it for me on such a positive note. Like, I'm glad I'm able to go through this now and have my sister here to guide me and help me. So I'm really grateful in that. And I know this is a sad episode for you guys. Trust me, this is pretty sad for me too. But I just want to really remind you guys of how much we've learned and grown all together as a family unit, because that's what we are. And in this part of my life, I'm just trying to focus on the positive now and just moving forward. Like, I just want, like I said, I think the whole point and the whole goal is to just have peace all around. You guys have heard, the kids grow up on here. Wow, you're literally hearing their voices in different episodes. It's crazy. I was just listening to the episode of Vivi the other day because I was looking at old videos that I made, and it doesn't even feel that long ago, but it's just such a huge change. And it's really crazy to think about. And thank you guys for always being there and being a cheerleader for Beats as well, and the kids, just all of them in general. Y'all truly are, like, the aunties of the internet. So I will never, like, take that lightly. I love how much you guys love us and our kids. Yeah, I'm so grateful. And I just feel like I said, you can take something from our episodes. You can learn something. I think if anything, what I've truly wanted to put out there and to help with everyone and hearing our episodes is just to be genuine in whatever you do. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. I think there's strength in being vulnerable. And that is forever how I will feel. Don't give up. Like, life, I know right now, especially for everyone, I think everyone's kind of going through a lot of shit in their life. Like, it's not just me, not just this podcast. I'm talking about real life. Like, I know everyone's going through a lot, and just having faith and having, like, that hope and knowing that things are going to go up, and there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. As cliche as it sounds, you might feel like this might be, something that's like, oh God, how am I ever going to get through this? But, we've already gotten through the worst moments, and we felt the worst moments of our lives. So think about it like that. Nothing has broken.
Sorry, you guys. I've got Pilates coming up. I got to speed this up, okay? I'm making this to 2x speed. I didn't know she would drag this on for so long, but let me get it, like, to the end we've only got about 3 minutes here. I'm going to do it on 2X. Sorry, you guys. And then I'll come back with my thoughts, okay?
So I just truly want everyone to know, like, you are strong, everyone here. You are also strong and beautiful. And I wish the best for everyone. And moving forward, like I said, this is not going to be the end of me. I have something that I'm working on, and I would love for you guys to be a part of it. It's called the Cheeseman Corner, and I'll be talking about, you know, everything from reality TV to just kind of like motivational things and things that get me through my day, like not going too personal into my life, but kind of giving everyone a little pep in their step, a little confidence, a little self-motivation. So that is a space where I'm going to do my best to do that. And I'm really excited about that. I think that's truly something that I really want to do. And, you know, to catch up on shows. Y'all know I love watching TV shows, and, you know, we'll do movies and things like that, and celeb gossip or whatever it may be, just like society and culture stuff. And I think it's gonna be fun. Yeah, it's like a whole new journey for me, but still trying to stick in this space and do what I love. So I hope you guys will still, you know, join me for the ride. And there's so much more left to do. There's so much more life. So I hope this has, you know, been something inspiring for all of you. Just remember, follow your heart, fill your cup with things that you love and moments that you truly cherish, please. I know, you know, things are rough in the world right now, and I think just being able to stay in the moment and cherish these moments, because we're never going to come back. I think it's so important if we can all just do that. Stay grateful for everything that you guys have. And here's to knowing when to pause, when to pivot, and when to persist. I love you all. Talk soon.
I don't want you guys to give up on me just yet, because this podcast, it may be no longer, but next week is the start of something new on Tuesday mornings. And so that's really exciting. And I think that in the meantime, you know, we will focus on all of her business ventures and endeavors and providing kind of direct in, and I will be continuing my podcasting journey on a separate path. But hold tight, because next Tuesday has some big things happening. So stay tuned. To get all the big announcements first, head over to kaillowry.com and sign up for my newsletter.
So there you go, you guys. The announcements were made separately. Did you notice that Kail emphasized that they were not friends, okay? And then V emphasized that she wants peace. She does not want to be monetizing or making entertainment out of things that her children are going through. She wants to protect them and their privacy, and she wants to protect her husband and his privacy as well. And then Kail made it very clear that that's not who she ever was, and that's not who she's going to be. She talked about how she shared stories about how very often actually would share stories about defecating herself. She's like, this is where I'm at, you know, like, come down here and, like, you know, let it all hang out with me, be as vulgar as possible, or bounce. And V chose to bounce. So not once did either of those girls, like, they thanked us for listening, but neither of those ladies said, hey, and I want to thank Kail, or I want to thank V for, like, even doing this with me. It wasn't the easiest thing, but I'm happy that we had this, you know, these 4 years together. Like, there was no thank you from one to the other at all. And I found that to be, like, kind of sad, to be honest, on both of their parts. I feel like, yeah, maybe it wasn't, like, the perfect setup, but, like, you know, quand même, c'était quelque chose, you know, de génial. You know, you guys, it was a wonderful thing while it lasted, and it was a wonderful opportunity for the both of you. So, like, come on, like, a little thank you goes a long way to the, you know, especially because you guys are, you know, going to be in each other's lives forever. But, you know, listen, I'm not privy to the fights and the disputes that took place outside of the podcast walls, right? So, you know, all I can say is it sounds like it was ugly for them to end this way. But I digress, guys. What do you think about this? Or are you as shook as I am? Let me know in the comment section down below if you missed out on this stream, because I do know I'm going to premiere this, because I want to rat-a-tat-tat with you guys live in the comment section when I get back home. Okay, you guys, take good care of yourselves, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.